Hello, it's Brynne with Backward Prints. Today I'll be teaching a introductory watercolor class. If you haven't seen my last video, How to Draw in 3 Easy Steps, I'd recommend that you watch that first. When you're done, head back over here. Today I'll be teaching you a little bit about watercolors. We'll cover different kinds of washes, opacity, high value to low value, and we'll be creating a color wheel. The color wheel will be really important because I'll be teaching you how to mix colors, and that will really set your foundation with watercolors moving forward. I've created this wonderful watercolor worksheet, which you can download off my website. I'll make sure to link that information below. I'm going to start by teaching you different types of washes and how to create those. The first one we're going to do is called a flat wash. You'll take a small dish and you're going to put a little bit of water in it. And you're going to take your small round brush, get it wet, and grab any color you like, really. It doesn't have to be blue, but I'm going to use blue for this tutorial. And you're probably going to do that maybe 3 times. I'm actually going to use 2 different kinds of blues so I can make a pretty color. So what we've just done is created what's called a wash. We'll take our flat brush and dip it into our wash, both sides. And then I want you to kind of just slightly get some of that excess watercolor off your brush. I don't think I put enough color in there. That happens. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more, but it depends on your watercolors you're using too. This particular palette of watercolors that I'm working with, the colors may not be as high pigmented as others are. So less is more. Less is more, as I always say. All right, try again, right? There we go. Okay, so that, my friends, is called a flat wash. Make sure you rinse your brushes off really good. And have a paper towel or a rag nearby that you can lay your brushes flat. Our next wash that we're going to do is the graded wash. So again, we'll use the flat brush. And then you'll take your round brush, your small round brush, get it wet, dip it in preferably a nice dark blue or the same blue that you used or the same color that you used. And you're just going to create a nice little line on top. The idea is that this is creating an ombre effect, hence the word graded. So the idea would be that it would be dark and then it would get lighter as it comes down. So this one, we want it to be dark to light. Okay, good jobs, my friend. The third one, you'll get your flat brush out, dip it in the water. This is called a wet and wet wash. So you'll get the paper wet with your flat brush. If you don't have a flat brush, don't worry. Feel free to just use a round brush, maybe a larger size round brush. And if you don't have that and you only have one brush, then just use that. It's not a problem. All right, so after you get that wet, take your other small round brush and we are going to dip it. I'm just going to use a pink. So the idea with, I might have let that dry a little bit too much. The idea when you get something wet and then add color is that your ink is going to bleed and create really interesting brush strokes. And this is your wet and wet wash. Our last wash that we're going to be doing is called an irregular wash. We'll use our flat brush again, get it wet. And then dip the small round brush in water. I want to pretend that this is sky. So you can dip your small round brush in a blue of your choosing. And actually, let's see here. Hold on. Let's, no. Trying to think what I want to do. Okay. So this is, I'm going to try and pretend like I see a white fluffy cloud. So I'm going to paint the negative space, which I'm going to teach you a little bit more about on this little worksheet. You can see right here, we'll get to that. So the negative space, I am drawing everything but the cloud. And then I'm going to be painting around the cloud. That's the negative space. And the cloud is the positive space. So the last video I talked about positive and negative space, and I used the vase as an example. And I wanted to bring this up again to just give a better example. I'm all about visuals as I'm an artist and a visual learner. So I just wanted to take a moment and go over that again. So paint your vase any color of your likings. And you'll paint the vase and you're gonna tell yourself, this is positive space. Then you can take the same color and here you're going to paint everything but the vase. And this is the negative space, everything around the object which we would be drawing. Makes a lot more sense when you can see it, right? One of the things I love about watercolors is how translucent they are. You can really create a nice range of opacity using each color. So here we're going to paint pure pigment. What color shall we do? Let's do, let's do a pink. I'm really into pink right now. So try not to have too much water on your brush when you dip it in the color. And I want you to get your brush into the color of your choosing, whether it's pink or red or purple. And I want you to try to, over on the side of your watercolor palette, this particular part of my palette comes off, which is pretty cool. Some are attached, so we're gonna really be using this part. This is our mixing palette. We're gonna use this to mix colors, change opacity. It'll come really in, it will come in hand for us while doing the watercolors. It will really come in hand while painting watercolors. All right, so rinse your brush, dry it off, and dip your watercolor brush back in the water. I just want to show you this again. So you're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to dip it in and see how there's quite a bit of water. So when you dip it, you'll just kind of run your edge of your brush on the inner side of your cup or bowl or whatever you're using, because we don't want too much water. Now add 1 drop of water. Sorry, that was 2. Add 1 drop of water to your color and mix. Now paint the second square. Clean your brush. Add another drop of water. And try to dry your brush off so you don't get extra water in there. Stir. And paint the third box. And repeat. So what you'll notice is the range of opacity. We start with high value and we work to low value, left to right. And you can see that. So this will come in hand when you're painting anything. And because with watercolors, we really want to work light and we want to build up the layers. And so you can start working with 100% pigment, but it's, I feel like traditional true watercolors is all about layering multiple layers on top of one another. So if you can start to kind of break things down lightly, you can, as you layer color upon color upon color, you're going to achieve something like this or like this. And it will give you a lot of dimension in your piece. It will just create, especially if you use the different types of washes like I taught you, you might even create your own that you'll find out, or you'll learn other ones or other tips or tricks on YouTube or from a friend or take a class. There's a lot of different ways to make a piece with watercolors that's just really interesting. So I hope that you found this interesting and helpful. So for the color wheel, I've already painted in the colors. So take a moment to do that and then hit the pause button on this video and then join me when you're done. We're gonna start painting the color wheel. Now I just wanted to go over a few things. Now we have primary colors and secondary colors. Primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. Secondary is orange, green, and violet. Now to make the colors in between each color here on our color wheel, we're going to mix the 2 neighboring colors. So I will show you how to do that. Now for those of you who are new to mixing colors, I'm going to walk you through it. Don't you worry. So take a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and mix those 2 together. Now we've got orange. Now clean your brush and we're going to take a little bit of red and mix the red into the orange. This is going to give us a really lovely red orange. Now, if your orange is too yellow, if it's more of a yellow orange, then you've created a yellow orange, and you can lay that ink in right here. Now clean your brush, and we're going to move on and make a orange yellow. So now you already have an orange in your mixing palette, so if I were you, I would just add yellow to it. If we add a little bit of yellow, it should lighten up, and then we have a yellow orange. All right, clean that brush, dry your brush off. And we'll do the yellow-green next. Okay, so grab some yellow. And to make green, we will take blue and yellow, mix them together. We got green. And then we're going to add the green to the yellow. And here we go. When you're mixing colors, and let's say you wanted this yellow green, what I've been taught in the past is that I could have added the yellow to my green, but instead I added my green to my yellow. And I added just a little bit. If you were to do the reverse, add the yellow to the green, you would need a lot of yellow to lighten that green up. So just keep in mind when you're doing this, and this comes with practice and time. You have to make mistakes until you learn the lesson, right? Especially like, for example, making pink. If you were to take a lot of red and you want to make pink, well, you have to put a lot of white in there to make pink. But if you were to take some white, like a good chunk of white, and add like a little bit of red and mix it, then you have pink without wasting a lot of ink. So just a little fun tip for you guys. All right, so moving on, blue and green. Now I'm just going to use some of this green that I already have in my mixing palette. Now that was a yellow green, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue because we're trying to create a really nice blue green. All right. Looking good. Okay, blue violet. So blue violet, now we'll take the color blue and violet. So violet, we're going to take blue and you would take a little bit of red. And this is a good example. So a little bit of red, just a little bit, and then a little bit more. Sometimes you have to do this until you get the right color that you want. Okay, now let's mix the two together. So I will take a little bit of that violet and I'm just going to add a little bit of that violet to the blue. Pretty. Okay. I'm going to cheat here and throw down some violet, some just pure violet, and add red. can see how it's a little bit more of a red violet. All right. Good job, everyone. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you learned a little bit about primary and secondary colors, how to mix colors, and now you have a better understanding of the colors that you can achieve with the watercolor palette that you're using. Great job. This is the drawing that I created in the last video. After sketching it out with pencil, I went over and outlined it with pen. I used an archival ink pen. That way we can paint today and I don't have to worry about the ink smearing. It's really important that you use a pen that has archival ink. If you did not use a pen with archival ink, you will shortly find out whether you did or not when you start adding watercolor. I'm going to start with the sky. There is a gel medium product, which, oh, I think I have. Okay, so you can buy, when you are working with clouds, which some of you may have decided to put clouds in, some of you may have not. This might be expired and too old, but I just wanted to share it. So this is Winsor & Newton. It's an art masking fluid for watercolors. And what you would do is take a brush and you would paint your clouds. And this is, it dries and it acts as a blocker, like an ink blocker, so that you can do your sky. And then at the very, very end, when you're finished with your piece and it's really dry, you would take your finger or like the little edge of the end of the brush and rub. And this is kind of like it's kind of like a glue, and it peels off. So really cool product, especially when you want to keep things white. With acrylic painting or oil painting, you can always add back in your whites. But with watercolors, you have to actively keep your white white, or use a art masking fluid. That is definitely expired because it wasn't moving around. So I'm just gonna start and kind of, actually what I would like to do, I don't really think, I've been doing watercolors for so long, I don't always, I don't always plan out like the process. I just kind of get in there and start to lay down color. I'm going to start with a wet and wet wash for part of our sky. Get the paper nice and wet all over for the sky, and then use your wash that we made earlier. Get your flat brush if you have one. Like I said, if you don't, you can use a large round brush and start laying in that wash. Because you got it wet first, this wash is going to lay down really, really nicely. There's going to be, you'll notice there will be less brush strokes. There really shouldn't be any brush strokes. It's just going to be really nice and fluid. You can control the color and where it lands, where it sits with the brush. You can add more color. You can change up your color. You can really just have fun with it and explore. You can see I'm getting that left side wet because it had, I don't know if I did it or not, but it had dried. Sometimes you'll get an area wet, and by the time you get to it, it maybe had dried, so you'll have to go back in. Now I am doing the gradient wash. So I'm taking that pure pigment, that blue, and I'm laying a nice little line down. Now if you don't have your piece taped down to your counter, your table, you can lift up the paper and let the ink run down. It will kind of create a bleed-like effect. It's actually a really cool effect. We're drawing the skies, so
We're just trying to create a nice ombre effect. My paper is starting to buckle. It's getting really wet, so I'm going to lay down some more tape. I really recommend you use masking tape if you have it on hand. If not, you can try using any kind of tape you have. Just don't use a heavy duty tape. This is just washi tape, and it's working. It's working okay. I'm using a smaller round brush, and I'm going to fill in the areas in between where I have clouds. I want to make sure that I'm being careful, and I'm doing this mindfully, as in watercolors, your whites, make sure whatever area you want to be white, you try to work around that area. Their white watercolor is very translucent. It's not like a white acrylic or a white oil. So, if you get some color on your cloud that's supposed to be white, just use a paper towel to blot that area up. Another tip is you'll probably be starting out with a larger brush, and you might want to just try to use that brush the whole time and try to get that, larger brush and those smaller details on the left, but don't be lazy. Make sure, my art teacher in college always used to say how important it was to switch up your brushes. You want to have a couple different brush sizes because, in the end, your brush, the types of brush you use and the types of sizes of brushes you use ultimately really do create a beautiful, they all kind of collectively make your piece really beautiful, showing different lines and texture and movement. And so it's really important that you try that, or at least try to switch it up every once in a while. I'm going to leave you here. I want you to just enjoy and have fun finishing up your watercolor painting. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. Lots of love, Brynne. Up next, a song called Brand New Key by my favorite band, the Salty Sweets. Enjoy.
It almost seems like you're avoiding me. I'm okay, love, but you got something I need. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I think that we should get together and try them out to see. I've been looking around a while. You got something for me. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I roller skate, I ride my bike, don't drive no car. Don't go too fast, but I go pretty far. For somebody who don't drive, I've been all around the world. Some people say I've done all right for a girl. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I think that we should get together and try them out to see. I've been looking around a while. You got something for me. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I asked your mother if you were at home. Well, she said yes, but you weren't alone.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below on what you loved about the video. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more videos, and head over to backwardprints.com to learn more about my business. All right, bye.